let's shift gears a little bit and talk about yourself. In the beginning of the chat with Kim, you mentioned that you are actually three-quarter Taiwanese, or rather, I brought that up. So, like, how's it like being Taiwanese and growing up in Japan?
Yeah, like growing up in Japan, I really feel like I was socialized into Japanese culture.
Hmm.
And back home, I feel like I spoke more Japanese compared to Mandarin.
Hmm.
And I already was learning English at school. So I had Japanese, English, and Chinese at home. So
Right, right.
it was really difficult to focus on one thing. And because of that, I think my mom chose to speak more Japanese to me more than Mandarin so that we wouldn't get like confused. But it was definitely hard to like fit in with like Japanese crowds because I wouldn't really understand like Japanese jokes and I
Oh,
wouldn't understand like Japanese phrases sometimes, and sometimes I would be more used to like English like phrases more, and it was definitely hard to like try to fit in like one specific like group. But as I grew up, I think I learned how to like fit in different groups as I like learned and developed my vocabularies and language skills for each of Japanese and English.
hey guys, welcome to another episode of Chat with Khian. Before I introduce our guest, I'll give a big shout out to FnK Concept. Be sure to check them out on Shopee and Lazada for cool products at reasonable prices. Today, we are honored to have Eileen here. Eileen is my friend at university, UBC. She's from Japan, but interestingly, she's only quarter Japanese and she's three-quarters Taiwanese. She also majors in psychology like myself, and she's currently based in Vancouver. She also has a YouTube channel, which name I cannot pronounce because it's in Japanese. But yeah, Eileen, back to you. Do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hey guys, it's Eileen, also known as Rina Channel. I'm from Japan and Taiwan, but I lived in Japan my whole life. And yeah, I met Kian in my first year of university, actually. Yeah, and I actually found out later that he did a YouTube channel too. So I was just like really amazed by his like talents, and I kind of like yeah, like that made me kind of inspired to make my own YouTube channel too. And yeah.
Thank you for the compliment. I did not pay her to say that I had talent. Like, yeah, you're too kind with your words. So, Eileen, I believe that a lot of people would be really interested to know about how it's like to be an international student at UBC. Do you mind sharing
Yeah,
about that?
yeah. Being an international student is, I think, definitely an eye-opening experience because you're studying abroad and you're in a different environment. You have to learn the culture, obviously, and you have to get used to getting around the area, but you're also studying at the same time. So you're both a tourist and a student at the same time. So it's like a really interesting feeling, but um, I feel like it's also very unique because it's you're getting best of, I guess, both worlds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. As international students, we have a lot on our plates because it's like
Yeah.
suddenly we go to a new place where we are completely independent and have to be responsible for a lot more things apart from our studies. Out of curiosity, was going to UBC the first time that you left your family for so long?
Well, I have traveled abroad, but I think going into UBC and spending first year at UBC was the longest time I've been away from my family. I have traveled to Thailand and Cambodia as a volunteer trip
Hmm.
for only a week or 2 weeks, but I've never traveled to a country alone and by myself. And yeah, that was, I think, being a UBC student in my first year was really the time that I was away from my family, and I realized that I was getting really like homesick, and it really made me so like lonely. Yeah.
That's something that I can definitely relate to. I was
Yeah.
always really homesick. What do you think about
Yeah.
the weather though? Because like for me, I'm from Malaysia, and the season in Malaysia is basically summer, 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 summer. We only have one season, so it was always really
Yeah.
sunny. So when I went to Vancouver, like apart from the summer, I think it was always like super dark and rainy. And I believe that you guys have seasons in Japan as well, right? Four seasons. So like, did the weather
Yeah.
affect you a great deal, or were you okay with it?
Yeah. Because Japan has like four seasons.
Mhm.
Um, and Vancouver also has four seasons too. So that was really nice. Like I got to see the similarities between two countries.
Mhm.
But I think because I'm here over the summer right now, I'm realizing how much nice it is in the summer here compared to Japan, because Japan gets super humid during the summer and it's super hot. So I really love how the summer here is not as hot, but winter was like really bad for me when I was in my first year because it was raining and it was cold. And
Yeah,
yeah, I got my clothes wet and I was wearing boots too. And I got my boot wet and it was really not nice. Yeah.
yeah. It was not nice. I think the first time that it snowed at UBC or in Vancouver, or the first time that I experienced snow at Vancouver, I did not have my boots on, so I had like sports shoes on. And then my friends were saying like, "Hey, don't wear sports shoes because you're gonna get them wet." And I kind
Yeah.
of like, I was just kind of like, I'm not too sure about that. So I had my sports shoes on, and on that day, like, oh my gosh, I walked around with wet feet. Not
Uh,
You mentioned culture in the beginning.
mhm.
Did you think that culture was like our cultural shock or cultural barrier was something that was an issue for you?
Oh, one of the first things I actually noticed was um, the service that people provide here, especially with going around like food restaurants or like food areas. Like I noticed that in Japan, like people are really like neat and um, people are. Oh, actually, it wasn't a restaurant. I think it was like the school canteen. But I noticed that people are much more um, like they want you to do everything on your own, and they don't really provide um, like service as much. But in Japan, like people actually go beyond what is expected, and they actually like do things really neatly. Like they fold everything really neatly, and
Hmm.
they hand it to you really neatly. But here, they kind of just like toss it at you.
Even in
Yeah,
school canteens,
yeah.
that
Like I
oh,
experienced that. Like they just like toss things like at me, and I was really shocked about that because in Japan, like people will like neatly give it to you and say like, "Oh, please," like they were really like polite, but here people are really like rude sometimes. Like,
hmm.
yeah, I didn't really like that was like the biggest cultural shock that I found.
In regards to the tossing part at UBC, like I definitely experienced that because I stayed in dorm as well, right? And I think that I'm really surprised is that in Japan, even in school canteens, people are this polite and neat and nice. Is that something?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that is really
yeah,
really
the cleaning
cool.
ladies are really neat too, so I was really shocked about that.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it must have been yeah, it must have been an eye-opening experience because I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I mean, I would expect that in restaurants, like I know that Japanese people are really, I guess, really thorough in terms of providing services, right? In restaurants and things like that. And then I thought in
Yeah.
school canteens it might be different, but that is really interesting to learn about.
Oh, I was really shocked.
Let's talk a little bit more about UBC. So when I was at UBC, I was really lucky because my roommate was really nice, and I didn't have a lot of issues with housing and my roommates and things like that. But I had friends who were less lucky, and they always complained about their roommates, their housemates, and things like that. How was your housing experience when you were at UBC?
Mm, my housing experiences was pretty okay. I think I would rate it like 8 out of 10.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, pretty high. Yeah. I think the negative part of it was the shower
Oh,
area. Yeah, I was really not used to sharing the shower area with so many people. Yeah, and I had to wait for the shower and like wait for my turn. And sometimes when I wanted to take a shower, like it was occupied, and then I would have to wait, and then I would check again, and I'll always check again. It was quite like it was very time consuming, I would say. Like I had to like wait for my turn, and then sometimes the person using the shower before me would have it really messy. And girls, we all have like long hair, right?
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
you would see like hair left over, and then you have to clean it up. So yeah, I hated that part of like sharing the shower and sharing the bathroom. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of hair though, like okay, you would imagine that only girls would have hair all over, but guys, like because some people shave, right? And like, oh my gosh, they don't clean it up, and it's so disgusting. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, sometimes I feel bad for them because, especially Westerners or I guess Middle Easterners as well, they have a lot of facial hair, right? And then for me, I don't have a lot of facial hair, so I don't have to shave that often. But sometimes, yeah, it's just not nice. But for me though, although I was a little bit not used to sharing the showers with a lot of people, I realized that the showers, at least when I use them, are not occupied because everyone kind of showers at really different timings. So
Oh, I see.
yeah, they are like peak hours. Like if it's like 9 a.m., then yeah, of course not.
Yeah.
But then if you choose a different time, like for me, I would wake up a little bit earlier, or sometimes I would go to the gym in the morning, so I would have to shower. So I would shower in like the gym. So yeah, then that one,
Oh, okay.
yeah, then I wouldn't have to like I guess crowd around in the shower with other people.
Oh, okay, cause like I shower at night and I never shower in the
Ah,
morning. So yeah, I think that's why the peak hours are different for you. Like for me, like I think showering at night is like what I always do. So I think I would say like around 8 p.m. to night 10 p.m. is like the peak hour, and then I would shower during that time. So that was when everyone's kind of like already occupying the area, and then you kind of have to wait. And I think the longest time that I like waited, I think was like I showered at like maybe like late 11:30
oh
maybe.
my god.
Yeah, I had to wait like pretty long.
You
Yeah.
were staying in Place Vanier, was it?
Yeah, Place Fanier, yes. Which
Right.
is one of the first year residences as yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you like try going to different floors to shower?
Oh, I actually never done that, but I've heard people have done that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have done that actually because so I stayed in Totem Park, which is another first year residence at UBC, and like I was on the top floor, and on certain days there would be no warm water. It's so crazy.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
on some days like yeah, it was not a good experience. Like it would be winter, and then you have to shower in cold shower, and like it's
Wow.
not super nice. But speaking of peak hours, though, I'm actually reminded of laundry
Oh
as
my
well. Oh my gosh.
God.
Laundry. Did you
Laundry.
have interesting experiences with the laundry and the dryer?
I had a I had one experience that I really remember. And okay, so I have my laundry, right? And I kind of I think forgot to pick it up.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I was drying them, and then I was doing something, so I forgot to pick it up. And when I checked my laundry, all my laundry was um on top of the
The
someone took
washer.
it out already.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was really annoyed because, okay, as a girl, girls have like, you know, their own like I guess underwear,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's like privacy, you know? It's like someone's privacy. But my underwear was like shown like in public, and you could see my underwear and everything, like, and they didn't like hide it or anything,
Mm-hmm.
and they piled it so that you could like you can see my underwear on the very top. And I checked who got it out, and I saw that it was replaced by a guy's clothes. So
Oh,
yeah, a
that's really
guy
not
like
cool.
took out my like garments, and he like took it out, and he saw my like all my underwear garments, and I just felt so annoyed and embarrassed because that's like my privacy. So yeah, that was just like one experience that I had. Yeah.
Right. I think this is super common. Like for me, there was this one time, I think it was actually during Jumpstart, which is the orientation week at UBC.
Oh
Like this
no.
this is true. I'm not making this up. I was like waiting for laundry, right? And then there was this one washer which was still, working. And this girl, she just went there, she opened the thing, and then she took out the person's clothes, and then she put her own inside. And I was like, what the hell? And,
What?
yeah, I actually saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, but I guess it's my fault that I didn't stop her, but I was too surprised, because it went so fast. Because she just took out the clothes, she put hers in, and then she pressed the buttons, and then she left. Like throughout the process, I was just kind of like,
Wow.
what the hell just happened? And then from that time onwards, I would never, leave my laundry alone. So what I would do is that I would do my laundry on Sunday mornings, and then
Yeah.
there was a table at the laundry room, and then I would study there while my laundry was there. Because I was so
Oh,
scared
that
then.
is yeah, that is a really good technique. I didn't figure that out. That's a good technique. Yeah.
But that's really unethical, man. Like to take people's clothes
Yeah.
out. That's like not the nicest thing to
Yeah,
do.
it's because it's kind of like your own privacy, and it's like your own property, and it's like having
Yeah.
you never know when someone is gonna like touch it or like have I guess access to your own property, and it's like it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
violating violating your own I guess things, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely not nice.
Yeah.
So, when you were at housing or dorms or residence, did you have a roommate or did you stay alone?
Yeah, I actually had a roommate, and I was sharing my room with the roommate. Yeah.
How was the experience like? Was it
Yeah.
someone you knew? Was
Yeah,
your
it was someone I knew from high school. So
right? That's nice.
yeah, that's why it made the transition better because I wasn't like in a completely new setting,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I wasn't able to like find my own friends, you know, because I was just like used to that um high school friend, and it didn't like help me to like explore other like options.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for future reference, like if I were to go into like a housing, maybe if you want to have a start and if you want to explore and start completely fresh, I feel like rooming with a completely different person, like a stranger, would be the best option. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Right. That is
I recommend
definitely.
that. Yeah.
I would take that as well because many a time, if you keep like clinging on something that you're familiar with, then you don't kind of leave your comfort zone, and
Yeah.
it's it might limit your experience, right? Because you're only with the same bunch of people doing the same thing, right? You don't mingle
Yeah.
around with other people.
Mhm.
Right. That's really interesting. I mean, for me, I didn't have that luck because I went alone. Because at high school, I did a British program. So most of my friends actually went to the UK. And I don't think there were any friends who
Oh,
went to UBC. So I guess in that sense, I was kind of like forced to kind of have to mingle with
oh,
other
right.
people. But it
Yeah.
wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Like I met really interesting and cool people.
Yeah. Like now that I look back, I hope I wish, yeah, I wish that I like, started completely new and like didn't have like a past and like left my past like behind, because I did have like we did have moments where we talked a lot about high school,
Hmm.
and we brought up high school, and like it always like made me go into like high school mode, and it never made me go into
Right.
like university mode. So I feel like if I were to repeat my first year again, I would definitely like start a completely new like life. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because you're in a new place and you're wanting to grow as well, right? You don't want to kind of
Yeah.
regress and go back.
Mhm.
So when I was at UBC, a lot of my friends and my relatives, they would ask like, "Hey, UBC is such a big school, a big university, and with so many people," and they would think that it's easier to make friends because there are so many people. So would you agree with that?
I actually had a really hard time making friends in the first year. The only friends that I like made was in Jumpstart because we
Right.
were forced to be in a small group, but like after Jumpstart, I really wasn't able to make any friends.
Right.
Um,
Sorry to stop you there. Jumpstart. Do you want to clarify that to people who
oh
are
yeah,
not
yeah.
UBC?
Jumpstart is a week program, I believe,
Yeah, it's a week.
for incoming new students to get in a group based on their faculties,
Mm-hmm.
and they get in small groups and they explore the school and explore like the education system here, try the classes and get to know the professors and
Mm.
really get to know the school. You have events happening around school. Like I think there were club fairs for you to like join, and there was a huge assembly too.
Right. Right. Right.
So it's like a huge
I think it
event
was
for,
Imagine Day, right? Imagine
yeah,
Day. Yeah.
Imagine Day. Imagine Day is the biggest event, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting. You were
Yeah.
saying friends at Jumpstart?
Yeah, the only friends that I ever made was during Jumpstart, and after that, when classes started, I wasn't able to make like good friends, and everyone was like doing their own thing, and everyone's so busy, and everyone like already knew each other apparently.
Oh, oh my
Yeah, like
gosh.
through Vancouver connections. But
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
since I was international, it was really hard to like join any groups because Vancouver people already formed
Yeah,
friend
yeah,
group.
yeah.
So, which was also like a problem for, I guess, international kids. Like we're kind of like we do things like late. I think like we
Mm-hmm.
join in groups like late. So
Yeah. And especially if they're born and raised in Vancouver, they would come from high school and they have friends from high school, right? I had
yeah,
similar experiences as well. Did you manage to make friends with people in your courses or classes?
actually, yeah, for any of my courses or classes, really like I wasn't really able to find any friends, but I think through like some extracurriculars, I was able to find like a community. Yeah.
Were you in any clubs or societies?
Yeah, I was in like this Japanese like club,
Mm-hmm.
not like the biggest Japanese club, but like a very small Japanese club. And I was able to find people there, but yeah, like honestly, it's really hard sometimes finding your fit in a really big school,
Right.
which is one of the downsides, I think, of going to a really big school. Mm.
Right, right. Was your high school a big school or was it a small one?
Yeah, my high school was a very small school, and I was
Right.
in my school for like 15 years. So
Oh, right,
yeah,
right.
all the teachers knew me, and I was like really familiar with my school and the system, but because UBC was completely new, it was really hard to really start again. But yeah, I'm slowly learning how to like navigate my way through, but it's still difficult. Yeah.
You mentioned that you were in a high school for 15 years.
Yeah.
So you were there since you were like 4 or 3?
Yeah, I came into the school since I was like 5 years old, and then I was in that school until my
Right.
senior year.
Oh my gosh. Is it
Yeah.
common for Japanese schools to have, kids from preschool all the way up to high school?
Yeah, if that school has like a preschool to like high school, then people wouldn't really like move. But yeah, since my school is like international, like a lot of international kids, like their parents
Ah, right,
travel
right,
a
right,
lot
right.
and they're like a third culture kids,
Right,
so
right,
they
right.
live in an area for like 2 years and then they move, and it was really common to have people come and go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Right. I believe that people would also be interested about studies and academics at UBC. So how was your experience with that?
Uh, yeah, I feel like okay, so one of the biggest like struggles for me was doing short term like term-based studying. My school was my senior year and my junior year in high school, we would have like a final exam at the very end
Mm-hmm.
of the year. So that was like summer. We would have like one final exam. So we would study for that exam, but I wasn't really used to having like a final exam at the very end of the every end of like 4 months. And I feel like I had to like cramp my work, and I was so not used to like the fast paced like environment, and I really had to like get on top of everything. So that was really stressful. Yeah.
Right. At UBC, we had, midterms and then midterms, projects, and then
Yeah,
final.
I know. You know, like I never actually like knew what a midterm was until I came to university.
All right.
Yeah, we only had tests and assignments and quizzes, but we never used a term called midterm.
Right,
So,
right, right.
I was really scared when I first came to university. Like, I didn't know what a midterm was, but it's kind of like an equivalent of like a test. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Right.
didn't know that.
That's something that was new to me as well because
Yeah.
for high school I did IGCSE and A levels, and these are like 100% exam based. So
Hmm.
we wouldn't have like similar to the course that you did at high school. We only had a final exam, so we would not have
Mm.
like uh, interim or midterm exams and things like that. Like my school itself did have like midterm exams, but they wouldn't call it midterm. They would call it continuous assessment. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so CAs. But these
Mhm.
CAs, like, they don't count toward your final grades because in the actual final exam, those exams are external. So they get sent to the UK to be marked.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
had the same one too. Yeah.
Did you do IB or A
Yeah,
level?
I did IB.
Right, right. So I guess it's similar as such that only the final exams count, right?
Yeah,
So
I
you would
know.
have like midterm exams, but I mean, even if you do not super well, it wouldn't count toward your final grades.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, but at UBC, or I'm not sure if other universities do the same in Canada or in America, but like, oh my gosh, if you screw up in one midterm and with that midterm is like, I guess 30% of your grade, then it
Yeah.
really, really drags your grade down, man. Like,
Yeah. Like everything you do like counts towards the final grade. So like
yeah.
I feel like I have to like work like extra harder, and like I have to like really like make sure that I'm like not like behind and all that, because like in high school, like even if I was like behind, um I can like work my way through the final exam, but like in university when I came here, like everything I do is really counted towards the final grade. So I
Yeah.
have to really like work hard in everything and put like effort in everything. So
Yeah. Like when
Yeah.
I look at UBC in terms of their academic terms, I feel like it's a sprint, you know. You have a sprint and then
Yeah.
you have midterms, final, and then you go off for holidays, right?
Yeah.
And then the next term would be again, you know, by like the third week or something, you have the first midterm and then 6 weeks second midterm and final, and then you're off for holidays,
Yeah. They
right?
really like to test you, right? I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas in high school, it would be like a marathon, I guess, because you're kind of like slowly building up for the final exam.
Yeah. Yeah. Marathon. That's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about the course load, like the amount of readings or homework or anything like that?
Yeah. I feel like because I think you're an art kid too. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we're both arts kids.
psychology.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just so much reading. I feel like there's just so much reading and they give you so much reading and you're tested on that reading, so it's really stressful. Yeah.
Right. Definitely. When I first, like in my first term, I wasn't used to the amount of readings. It was so crazy. Like, especially
Mm,
if you have classes like, I guess, philosophy, like, and the readings are not easy material, right?
no, not at all.
Yeah, so what I did was I actually tried to read it like, you know, in high school, you're expected to know all the details of the readings. So I would spend a lot of time on the readings, but eventually I realized that, like for classes like philosophy and sociology, and to some extent psychology as well, you just want to get the main ideas down rather than, you know, spend time reading every word and phrase because that would take forever.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to like read fast and get the main points down.
Yeah, and like you said, like you want to read every detail and I found that in like when we were given like research papers to read and they have like certain like methodologies that they use,
Yeah.
like you don't really know what they are and the teacher doesn't explain what it is, so
Yeah.
you have to like look it up yourself and like learn about like that methodology.
Yeah. Yeah.
um like recently there's just an example, but um there was a research study and they used this methodology called grounded theory approach,
Hmm.
and I never knew what it was, but it was like a methodology where you like decode like interviews,
Hmm.
like you code every word from an interview and then you make a theme out of it,
Hmm.
which is the actual process, but I never knew what it was because the teacher never explained it, so I had to like search it up myself and like learn by myself. So I feel like um I mean UBC, like they give you a lot of like materials assuming that you already understand certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I feel like a lot of it is self-study.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Especially if the prof is not super great at explaining stuff, then a lot of
Mhm.
self study would go there.
Yeah. I feel like I've been like self-studying a lot. Yeah.
Since you mentioned, like, you know, we are both kids in the Faculty of Arts, in my experience, I've met people in my dorm or like people from classes who seem to like look down on people in the Faculty of Arts. Did you
Mm,
have similar experiences?
yes, I did. Yeah. I experienced that a lot and I don't know why, but I was surrounded by a lot of like science and engineer kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, and a lot of engineer kids have like made fun of like my faculty. Yeah, and it made me really doubt like, you know, being in arts and whether being in arts was good. And yeah, it was really, I didn't really like that. And Khian, I know that you made a video about that, and
Oh yeah, I did.
I really like agreed with a lot of like what you said. Yeah.
Right. I was like in that video I shared about my experience. It was so frustrating because like I was studying for a midterm for psychology. It was my first term at UBC, Psych 101. And then there were like five dudes I think who were next to me in the canteen, and then they were like just shitting on arts people. They were just like, "Oh, you know, the arts people they have it so easy. Everything is so simple, and I don't even know why they're in university. I think it's really easy to score high marks if you're in arts and things like that. And I was like sitting there, I was like, no, that's not true. Well, of course, I didn't confront them, but in my mind, I was kind of like, no, that is not true. And something I didn't mention in the video is that there was this one time where there's this guy on my floor in my dorm. He was nice, like he was an engineering kid, but he was not like one of those people who would, I guess, say false things. And then he actually approached me and he was like, "Hey, Kian, could you help me with the Words 150 course because I'm not used to the readings that I have." Then I did help him a little bit, and at that time I felt like, oh, uh, at least I guess some people through some art courses that they have to take, they would realize that arts is not as easy as they would say. Like,
Mm,
I mean, I'm not trying to make a comparison and say which course is harder, but I think it's really important to not just make false claims about whatever faculty or courses that you're in, because
mm,
every course has its own degree of difficulty, right? Like, I guess I guess there are maybe easier or harder courses, but then they are easy and hard in their own ways.
mm.
So I'm not
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, like I'm not sure if it's fair to just say, oh, this course psychology is easier than I guess I don't know sociology. Like,
yeah. I feel like um it's just like in arts, like there's like a broad study of materials, but for engineering, like you go very specific into like what you're going to study. But I feel like in arts, like yeah, both in arts and engineering, in every faculty, like either way, you go specific into whatever you're majoring. So I think it's definitely like a stereotype in like first years because they don't know like what is expected, but like in later years, like people slowly appreciate that like every faculty has like its own difficulties because of its like certain like expectations for that specific major, you know?
hmm hmm
Uh,
Do you have any other interesting experiences at your first year at university? So you talked about housing, talked about friends, talked about classes. Yeah. Did you have
yeah.
any other special experiences or funny ones that you wanted to share?
Oh yeah, like okay, so I when I first came to UBC, I met up with like the alumni and
Right, right.
yeah, we had like a dinner and then he was saying, "Oh, like oh, in first year there are certain things I need to be you need to be aware of." And he said, "Yeah, like first year guys are really horny and
Oh my gosh.
like he said that they're really horny, so like like be you should be careful like of um uh, wanting like finding people, and he like was very like aware, like he was like telling us that, and then I didn't like think about that until I actually I actually got into a relationship. Yeah, and I realized that, like a lot of like I guess like guys around me like really was keen in like going into relationships
hmm
because they want to explore and they want to, like they're free and they're open in this very big like university. So yeah, like I really think that you shouldn't be like pressured into like going into like relationships because like I also never been in a relationship too myself.
Oh, right.
I never like been in a relationship in a high school or middle school. So um yeah, I also wanted to like explore, and like yeah, like
Right.
find like a relationship and like know how it like what it like feels like. But like for those who are going into university and like always wanted to have like a relationship, like really like you shouldn't rush it at all. And like first year is like even though other people might be like exploring, like you really don't need to be pressured because like you have like other years to like experience it. And like honestly, like what my alumni friend said, that really like first year guys can be like really like um looking for like just you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right, Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I wasn't one of them, but yeah, I think I was pretty all right. I didn't kind of prey on anyone, I guess. Was, if you don't mind my asking, was the person that you dated an international student or was he local Canadian?
He was a local Canadian.
All
So
right.
yeah, I think there was a lot of like difference in culture.
Oh,
And
right, right,
also in my experience, because I come from Japan,
right.
like people had this like stereotype about like Japanese girls.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Because I feel like there's this really big praise over like Japanese culture, and like especially through like anime. And yeah, like people have this like stereotype of like Japanese girls being like really cute and like, you know, very like, I guess like, how do you,
Submissive?
yeah, maybe submissive too, but like they have a very like stereotype view of like Japanese girls. And I feel like it's also the same way about like a stereotype for Japanese Korean guys or Korean girls too.
Right.
Like Korean culture is really big, right? With like K-pop and all that, like and K-drama. So people have this stereotype that like um about like Korean girls or Korean guys.
Hmm.
And I feel like that there was a stereotype for Japanese girls too.
Right, right.
And yeah, I feel like a lot of times when I met like guys here, like, and I told them that I came from Japan, they immediately like changed their attitude.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know why. Like they immediately become like really interested in hearing like, oh, like you're from Japan? Oh, like, and the number one question is like, oh, do you like anime? And like, I don't know, it was like there was a sudden shift in like tone of
hmm.
voice, and like there was a sudden shift in like interest.
Right, right.
So
Would they
yeah,
be more nice or?
yeah, they became like nicer, and they became more like interested in like wanting to know more about you. And it was really like it was a very strange like feeling, you know? Yeah.
Oh, well, I hope I didn't give you that feeling when I first met you. But
Oh, which is interesting. Like, yeah, Kian and I met in like first year of university, and we met through like mutual friends,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, we did.
Yeah. And I actually like didn't expect to like hang out with you, because like I thought we were gonna hang out like as friends, but then a friend of ours said that she wanted to bring you, so I didn't expect to like actually meet you on the day that we were meeting. Like it was
Yeah,
very spontaneous. Yeah.
yeah. So what happened was that I was in the same history class as that friend. Oh, by the way, the history class sucked. Like we dropped it after that. So we were in the same history class, and then we sat next to each other. And then I can't remember it because it was like my first or second week of classes, and I haven't actually gone off campus yet. And I think she was local, I think. So I was just kind of like, hey, do you want to go downtown together? And then she was like, sure. And then she was like, oh, I had friends as well. So, do you want to join us? And then at first I was kind of like, I'm shy, no, maybe no. But then I was kind of like, you know what? I am just going to be more open and meet new friends. And then that's where I saw you and some other people as well. So it was really interesting, small world, I guess.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, like when I first met you, like when I first saw you, like I was immediately like reminded of like a friend of mine in high school.
Oh.
Like you really look like my friend from high school, so like I immediately associated my high school friend with you.
Right, right.
So like my first impression of you was that you look like my high school friend. And
Right.
yeah, that's why I was like really I really wanted to like get to know you because like you look like my high school friend.
Oh,
But
well,
yeah.
I guess that's another example of how we would have a preference for things that we are familiar with, right?
Uh, but what was your impression of me?
I thought you
What was
were.
your first impression of me?
I think you were like when we were on the way to downtown on the bus. I sat next to you, right? And then you were really
Yeah.
quiet at first, but then I guess when we like started to have lunch, and then I think you fiddled around with my camera, right? Because I was taking a vlog at that time.
Yeah.
Then you started to be more friendly, more nice, but really soft spoken. Soft spoken.
Mm,
Yeah, a little shy, but yeah. And then I think we also had dinner together. Then I think after that, right? We had dinner in Totem, I think, and then you had poutine. Not sure if you remember.
I don't remember this.
Right, right. And I think there were a few times when I saw you in Totem as well after that. But yeah, we got busy with classes, and I don't think we really hung out a lot after that. But hey, we're video calling now, so
I
that's cool.
know. And Khian is actually one of the few people that I keep in touch with since first year. So yay, Khian!
All right, that's very
Make your
nice of you.
friendship.
Right. Speaking of first year, I didn't make. I think similar to you, I didn't make a lot of friends from classes and everything like that. And even when I did make friends, I didn't. I have not been keeping in touch with a lot of them. There were a few that I keep in touch with, but not a lot actually. A few, and yeah, I guess yeah, online learning hasn't made it easier to keep in touch with friends.
Yeah, online has really like I also feel like online learning has helped us like reflect on who we really bonded with and who we really didn't really bond with. And yeah, what about you? What do you think about that?
Online learning. I think if you, I think okay, you have to be really open about making friends
Yeah,
because if you don't, then like you have to proactively text the person, to really build that connection with people. Because there are people in my previous classes, like in my research method class, whom like I worked with them, in projects, but I never called them or met them in real life. So like, we were communicating via text and working on this project for the entire term, but then we would like have never met them before. So it's a funny feeling. And
yeah,
then, but in some ways, I've also kind of had the chance to talk with people, of course, through text because ever since classes became online, people would create group chats, right? Like I don't think I'm not sure if we had that back when classes were in person, but I never saw it. But like ever since online classes started, people would post on Facebook like, "Hey, who's taking this course? I'll add you to the group chat," and then you have your group chat, and of course, like it's different, of course, from meeting people in real life. But it's really interesting to see how people in the group chat would be really supportive of each other. Like, would remind each other of like, hey, the deadline is this, deadline is when, remember this, remember that. And although you don't really, I guess, befriend them, it's really nice that there is this supportive virtual environment despite everyone not knowing anyone at all. So
that's very true. Hmm.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Out of curiosity, before we get on with online learning, you mentioned that you never dated before in high school and middle school, right? Is it common for Japanese people to date or not date at high school?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people in Japanese schools like they are late bloomers.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's when they start university that they become more like they actually go out and explore and do things that they never got to do.
hmm
And um you see like people around me like going into like relationships or like even going to partying, and like you never saw that um, during their high school time, but then they do that once they get into university and they start to explore themselves and explore their own style and explore and their own friend groups. And
right,
yeah, people are like, I guess, like late bloomers.
right, right, right.
Uh, so
hmm
I feel like I was also like, I guess, like a late bloomer in a sense that I um, really like started to like explore like different options and um a potential relationship as well. Yeah.
Do you think your personality or your mindset shifted a lot when you went from high school to university?
Um like I said in like I said about having a friend from high school and
Right,
having
right.
her in a room with me like didn't really change my personality, and I was still in like high school mode. But I think once online school started and I was alone, or I came back to Japan and I was doing the online school from home,
hmm
like that's when I started to um actually change, and like I wanted to like start a new life. So I cut out a lot of like friends from high school. Yeah.
Oh, right, right. So
Yeah.
coming back to online learning then, when did you go back to Japan from Vancouver?
Um, so I came back to Japan once the COVID thing spread in March.
Right, right.
And I took my finals in Japan in like 2020, I
Right,
think.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And ever since 2020, like the COVID thing hit, I was in Japan and I spent my whole summer in Japan. And I recently came back. So it's been like a year since I came back to Vancouver. So
Oh, right.
I spent like half a semester in Japan.
hmm So what what made you choose to go back to Vancouver?
So I was actually struggling a lot with online school.
hmm
I couldn't like concentrate at home, and the time zone difference was really stressful for me. And I wasn't actually doing my school. I was actually um, kind of I guess I was kind of like I started my own YouTube channel too,
All right.
and I was focused more on my social like internet life.
Right.
And I actually participated in like a live stream, and there was this live stream called Showroom, and um, they were they had this like event by Nylon, which is like a fashion magazine, but they were like recruiting models, and I kind of like wanted to participate.
hmm
So they were recruiting models through live streaming, and I started doing that, which kind of distracted me from school a lot.
Right.
And I was focused on doing like live streaming, and yeah, I think that was like a lot of my time was spent into like pursuing like social life. Yeah.
Right. So how was it like? Like it must have been very difficult to study at home, right?
Yeah. I was like in a competition for the live streaming.
Right,
So
right.
um I had to live stream every day, and
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't really focus on my school because I was live streaming every day, and I had to like think about like what was interesting content for live streaming, and um, I made it through the semi finals,
Right,
but
right,
I couldn't make it to the final run. I actually made it to the final, but I actually couldn't go into like the interview.
right.
So that was really sad, but it was a really good opportunity for me to like learn about, I guess, like the modeling industry in a sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So when you came back to Vancouver, did you still associate yourself with the live streaming stuff?
Yeah, I definitely kind of like missed live streaming because I've had like consistent viewers,
Right, right.
uh, and they followed like my Instagram, and I met like people through like the live streaming process, and I made a really close friend. But yeah, like I also don't miss it because it was really stressful when I was live streaming, and I had to like meet the needs of everyone, and I
Yeah.
really had to like be careful of like what I was gonna say, and um, yeah,
Right.
there was a lot of pressure during live streaming as well.
I can imagine that because a lot of people are watching, right? Which means a lot of people will be judging.
Mhm.
So it must have been really not an easy thing to do. Aside
Yeah,
from live streaming and I guess getting into the modeling industry, how was your online learning experience like? Or how is it like so far? Like, did you make
yeah,
friends or back in Japan or in Vancouver? Did you make new friends? Like, how was studying like and all things like that?
yeah. Online school has made it flexible for me to like find like a study area.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that's true, of course.
yeah, like because I didn't always have to stay home,
Hmm.
and I was able to go to different areas, and um, so one of the places that I went a lot was going to cafes to study, and I went to like a cafe all the time, and I actually like saw certain people all the time as well.
Right, right,
Yeah, every time I went to the cafe, and I would see them like every time I was going to study there, and I would also see them in another cafe.
oh,
So I saw them like every time I went. So like I actually started like talking to them, and then we became friends, and we was like study together.
right,
So
right, right,
like going to Japan, and going to cafes and doing the online learning has made me like find like friends, or maybe find people that I never would have like been able to meet if weren't for me going back to Japan and doing online school.
right,
Because
right.
if I was at UBC, I wouldn't be able to meet any Japanese university students. I mean,
Oh, right,
there are Japanese university students in UBC, but um, there are probably people in UBC are like exchange kids, right?
yeah,
Um, like it was just really weird for me to like find new Japanese university students
right.
studying cafe, and yeah, it was like a really new like experience and opportunity. I feel like.
Yeah, it must be like, you're studying at UBC, but the friends you make are non-UBC students. It's really
Yeah.
must have been super
So
interesting.
yeah, that was like I guess one of the like benefits of like studying abroad from online.
Hmm.
Like you don't have to stick to like UBC students. Like you get to like um I guess find other like if you go to your hometown like and go
Yeah,
to cafe, like you'd probably see like university students from like Malaysian universities, right? And
right.
then
The thing is that in Malaysia, like I always study at home because the COVID
uh,
situation in Malaysia is really bad. Like right
yeah.
now we're on full lockdown, and like oh my gosh, since like mid-April, aside from going to the occasional grocery shopping, I like haven't left home at all because yeah, it's just so bad here right now. Like we have sometimes on Sundays we have almost like 10,000 cases per day. So yeah, I for the most part I stayed home. So like uh,
Oh,
it was
okay.
not easy in that sense.
Uh,
But then I did meet friends from online, like both UBC and non-UBC,
oh,
right?
okay, that's good.
Yeah, because when classes are online, people are more active online anyway. Like many people would post about how things are online, like exams, stress, and all that thing. And then
Uh,
sometimes I would reply to people's stories, and then yeah, you make friends from there. So I guess I was able to make friends as well, but then not in physical contact.
mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you find online exams and like online studying?
Yeah, I feel like um it's definitely like really easy to like procrastinate
Oh,
and
definitely.
yeah, it's really easy to like drift your focus on something else and
Hmm.
because everything is online now and the web and Google is like a really big platform so like if you don't know something and you look it up like you look at a different source and then you keep surfing the internet until
Right,
you
right.
realize that like you're not actually focusing on school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you just I feel like there's no like routine anymore, like waking
Right.
up and like getting ready and
Hmm, hmm.
like walking to your classes and like there's no routine anymore because like everything is just like a screen.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really dislike that.
yeah. I was
Mm.
talking about this with in another episode of Chat with Ken yesterday. So I recorded that chat with Ken with my teacher from high school, my history teacher from high school, and she's asking about like how online classes are like for me. And I said that so a lot of the lectures were recorded. Actually, yeah, most of them were recorded. So that was the good thing because I didn't have to like wake up at midnight, right? But the
Yeah.
bad thing is that because the lectures are recorded and you're watching recordings, it's so tempting to kind of press pause when you don't feel like learning. And
Yeah.
like I guess when you're like in a live class or like video calling with someone, you kind of expected to pay attention because there is someone there, right? But then when it's
Yeah.
recorded, it's like no one is there, and sometimes you can procrastinate the lectures, and it's like not a good situation to be in if you
Yeah.
procrastinate so much because then you have to watch everything and catch up with so many content, I guess.
Yeah. Like you get to delay your learning and do everything at your own pace. So like you're like less pressured, but then yeah, like I kind of like miss like being able to be surrounded by people and like um having like a set time for like a class.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
now
So
like we don't have like a specific time for like a class. So it's been that has been really difficult, I think.
yeah, and when I was taking a sociology class, I can't remember if it was 250 or 101, but we learned this term called institutionalized. So it's the idea where your life is kind of like regulated by institutions. So I guess before things were online, a large part of our daily life is actually regulated by schools and classes, right? Because it's like okay, at 8 a.m. you have to be at this place until I mean like your classes go up to 3 p.m. Then from 8 to 3 on a daily basis, your life is kind of like regulated by schools or universities. But then when it's online, it's like it's all up to you 24/7 from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. You decide how you want to, I guess, you decide what you want to do throughout the day. You can procrastinate
Yeah,
all day or you can be productive. And like you have to be extra disciplined because if you don't, then nobody's gonna care, and then the results will show in the exams. That's not a good
I
thing.
know.
Yeah, so I guess yeah. Do you have any tips and suggestions for anyone who is online learning and studying? My tip would be to be extra disciplined and actually use Google Calendar to regulate your daily life. That's what I do.
Yeah, I really think that like you have to be really organized, and you
Yes.
have to make like a to-do list for every day.
Yeah.
Um, Otherwise, you get like lost and overwhelmed by the amount of work that is given to you.
Yeah.
So I would suggest making a to-do list, and really checking like the syllabus again if you need to, and like I would suggest always checking Canvas. Like
Oh, right.
checking Canvas every day is like a mandatory thing. I think everyone should do that, and always being alert with the announcement, and um, just just being aware of like what's happening is so important. And yeah, like just be very um, just check your email, check Canvas, and
Yeah.
um, make sure that you're not missing out.
Yeah, definitely you have to check your email every day because I think there's this one time when I was like I didn't check my email, or rather it didn't notify me, and then there was a date change for the assignment. I was like, oh my gosh. Like I didn't miss the deadline, but then I was just like super shocked that the date was changed, and yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah, which kind of reminds me also, I actually missed like midterms.
Oh my
Yeah, for
gosh.
one of my classes. Yeah, because I was in Japan and like I got the dates confused.
Oh right. Oh my
I
gosh. Yes,
actually
yes,
missed
yes.
my midterms, and it was my first time ever missing midterms. So I felt really guilty and I felt really bad. But at the same time, since I was in a different time zone, like it's kind of like understandable, right? Because you kind of mix the dates and mix the times. And I know that I should have been careful, and I know that I should have been more aware of my time, but sometimes those things happen. And yeah, I just felt like because of that, like also wanted to come back to Vancouver and
Right.
like really be present in the time zone for sure.
Did you email the professor? Like,
Yeah, I did, but I couldn't retake the midterms at all. Yeah.
that is super sad. Like,
No.
but speaking about sometimes you get confused. I can totally relate to that. I have like skipped some discussions before because of the same reason. Like, you get mixed up with the date, and like nowadays, I have two times on my phone right now. One showing the Vancouver time and one showing the Malaysian time. But
Oh,
yeah, it's so scary because uh, I think like sometimes when I look at the timings, and sometimes they would email you, but they would not say, Pacific time. And then I mean, like you obviously it's Pacific time, right? Because the email is coming from Canada. But then when you read it, like you kind of forget that you are supposed to convert the time, and yeah, so like sometimes when I look at the dates and the times, I get like a mini heart attack, like, oh my gosh, did I miss something? And then, oh, okay, it's Pacific time. I have to convert. So like, yeah,
yeah, I know. That's why I feel like that's the biggest struggle of being in a different time zone and taking online classes from a different time zone for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely not easy. Well, I guess we
so not
can.
easy.
Sorry.
So not easy.
Yeah, like uh, some professors and TAs are understanding, but some are not so much. So it's like it's not super nice when they're not as understanding as they can be, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I guess we have talked a lot about UBC. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about yourself. In the beginning of the chat with Kim, you mentioned that you are actually three-quarter Taiwanese, or rather, I brought that up. So, like, how's it like being Taiwanese and growing up in Japan?
Yeah, like growing up in Japan, I really feel like I was socialized into Japanese culture.
Hmm.
And back home, I feel like I spoke more Japanese compared to Mandarin.
Hmm.
And I already was learning English at school. So I had Japanese, English, and Chinese at home. So
Right, right.
it was really difficult to like focus on one thing. And because of that, I think my mom chose to speak more Japanese to me more than Mandarin so that we wouldn't get like confused. But it was definitely hard to like fit in with like Japanese crowds because I wouldn't really understand like Japanese jokes and
Oh,
I wouldn't understand like Japanese phrases sometimes, and sometimes I would be more used to like English like phrases more, and it was definitely hard to like try to fit in like one specific like group. But as I grew up, I think I learned how to like fit in different groups as I like learned and developed my vocabularies and language skills for each of Japanese and English.
right.
And yeah, like I certainly feel like I've been really distinct with my Taiwanese identity. Like,
Hmm.
um, so that was very difficult on me. Um, Even though I was more Taiwanese by blood, like I really felt so like distant with like Taiwanese culture because I never lived in Taiwan.
Right,
So yeah, like I wish that I had spent some time in Taiwan.
right. So, are your parents Taiwanese or are they like mixed as well? Or
Yeah, like my mom is fully Taiwanese, but
right, right.
my dad is half Taiwanese and Japanese.
Ah, right, right. Did they grow up in Japan as well, or did they move to Japan later on?
My mom grew up in Taiwan.
Right.
Her whole she spent her whole life there. But my dad he spent his whole life in Japan actually.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, but my dad and my mom met in Taiwan,
Oh,
and then they moved to Japan after they got married.
right. So, would you consider your mother tongue to be Japanese?
This is also like a confusing aspect
Right.
because yeah, I learned Japanese and Taiwanese at the same time. Sorry, not Taiwanese, Japanese and English at the
Right,
same
right.
time. So I would say that both Japanese and English are my first languages,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I would say that Japanese might come first because I spoke that more in my house,
Oh,
and
right, right,
it's very confusing. I still don't know what my first language is, but I think maybe Japanese might be my first language. But I definitely think that my English is way better than my Japanese now.
all right.
Yeah,
Right, right,
because
right.
you're exposed to English more.
Yeah, yeah, because schoolwork and everything is English, and you,
Yeah,
and you also mentioned that you came from an international school, right?
yeah,
Right.
and we had English classes taught in English all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm probably like not as advanced as those who grew up in a Japanese like school and gone into a Japanese university. Like my level of Japanese wouldn't probably be the same as them.
Right. And I imagine that Japanese public schools and Japanese international schools would be very different.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right then. Thank you so much for sharing. I guess as a closing, you can teach me some Japanese phrases, and
Yeah,
then
for sure.
yeah. So I don't know what phrases would you think be helpful for me.
Oh, I think
I mean, I
when
can say
you
hello and thank you. So I can say konnichiwa, ohayo in that's good morning, right? And then
yeah,
arigato gozaimasu. Yeah, I know how to say these.
you should definitely use kawaii desu.
Kawaii desu. Oh, what does the des mean? Like I know what kawaii means, like cute, right? But like,
Okay, you know.
oh, yeah, I know a little bit of Japanese because my sister, she's pretty good at Japanese. Like there's the Japanese language test, right? Like N1, N2, N3, N4. The thing,
Yeah.
I think she's at N2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she can converse in Japanese. And I have an uncle who is a PR in Japan. He works there. So I've been to Japan a few times. I think
Oh, okay, that's cool.
when I was like 11. I went there in the summer when I was 11, when I was 10, 11, and then I went there in the summer when I was 14. Yeah, so it's been a long time. But yeah, I think I do know some Japanese terms, so maybe you can teach me some new ones. I'll let you know what I know. So I know Ohayo, Konnichiwa,
Okay.
Arigatou gozaimasu. So kawaii, I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
know. Uh, like before you eat, you say itadakimasu.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
And
important
then
to know.
uh, I know that there's a difference between oishi and oishiso. Like oishiso is
Yeah,
before you eat it, it looks good, and then you say
yeah.
oishiso.
Yes,
And
yes,
then
yes, yes.
oishi is when you eat it and it tastes good. It's
Yes,
like
yes.
oishi.
Yeah, it's like your reaction to the food. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I know. Let's see I think I know baka. I mean stupid, right?
Oh no.
And then I know.
No, who taught you that?
I think I can't remember. Can't remember. Yeah. Uh. Hmm. Yeah, I think that's about all I know.
Hmm. I would say that uh you should say one very funny one that you could use is ramen, ikemen, boku tsukemen.
Oh my gosh.
No, sorry, I made a mistake. Ramen, tsukemen, boku ikemen.
Sorry, what's it mean?
Okay, ramen is like ramen,
Yeah,
and
right?
tsukemen is like another like food in Japan, and boku ikemen is it's a way of telling that you're good looking. So it's like a rhyming Japanese phrase. Like it all rhymes. Yeah.
Right. So does it mean you look good? Or
Yeah, like it means like it's like ramen, tsukemen. It rhymes, right?
right,
Ramen,
ramen tsukemen,
tsukemen, it rhymes. And then boku ikemen, like it
boku
also rhymes, right?
ikemen.
Yeah. So you should definitely use that phrase.
So ramen ikemen,
Ramen, tsukemen,
ramen tsukemen,
boku ikemen.
boku ikemen.
Yeah.
Right, ramen tsukemen,
Tsukemen.
boku ukemen.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
ramen
Ramen,
tsukemen, boku
tsukemen,
ukemen.
boku ikemen.
Right, that is not hard. Is it a funny way of saying you look good?
Oh, it's like a way of saying that like you're good looking.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting. Ramen, tsukemen,
Yeah,
boku, ukemen. All right, I learned some Japanese today. Do you want to learn some Malaysian English?
sure. Yeah.
Okay, see. What do you want to learn?
Wait, how do you say like, oh, you're really talented or like you're really good at something?
Oh, so okay. So sometimes you can be a little bit dramatic. So you could be like, so you can say, "Walao eh, you see baking oh." So bit by
Wow.
bit. So walao eh, it's actually in Hokkien. So in Malaysia, we know a lot of languages. Like the average Malaysian can speak at least 3 languages, including dialects. So I can speak 5. So because of that, when we converse, a lot of languages come inside, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's not normal for us to only speak one language. It's like, in one sentence we can have like, 4 or 5 languages. So walao eh, it's an expression in Hokkien which means like, oh my gosh. Like walao eh. It
Oh,
can,
like it's
yeah.
kind of like wow, right? Like
Yeah.
walao, but like wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about this thing is that you can use it in so many contexts. Like if you're angry, it's like "walao eh," and then if you're happy, it's like "walao eh." If you're shocked, it's like "walao eh." So,
Oh,
like depending on how you feel, you can change, but you can use the same word to mean the same thing.
Malawi. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
taking that.
So "walao eh," and then you're good at something. So you. Sipe. Sipe is in Hokkien as well. It's a way of saying very, very, very. Like you
Sipe,
sipe. Sipe.
Sipe.
Yeah, and then if you wanna if you wanna be like if you wanna say like you're really good, you're like sipe. So like the
Oh,
longer it is, it means you're better.
oh, wow, interesting.
And then
So
gang.
Malawi is like,
Oh my
Malawi is
gosh.
Sipe. Okay.
Walao you sipe gang. Gang,
Again.
it's Cantonese. It just means you're good. Like it can doesn't have to be like you don't have to be like you're gang at something, but if you say you're a gang, it's like you're really good. Like you're like cool.
Wow. Okay.
So you would say like so if I want to say like, hey, you're super good at this, it would be like, walao you see baking oh. Always the expression, yeah.
Okay. I'll like definitely remember that. Malawi Sipe Geno. Okay.
You see baking.
Ah.
Yeah, you need to add the expression like, walao you see baking oh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we say it. But of course, this is a comedic way of saying it. But like it can be sarcastic as well, right? You can tell. So like if you're really bad at something, and then I want to make fun of you, I'm like, "walao you see baking oh."
Oh.
Yeah, so that's Malaysian English. You can practice that. I can I can send
Yeah.
you a message on Instagram so you can practice it at your own time. And I guess
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. And then if you see Singaporean friends as well, you can say that they understand. Like Malaysia and Singapore, because we are so
Oh.
close. And like because Malaysia and Singapore were actually together before 1965.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was called Malaya. And then like
Oh.
1965, they broke away and then they like became independent.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So because 1965 honestly is not super long ago, right? So
Yeah.
we have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you guys would have like similar like phrases in both like countries then and
Yeah, very
yeah,
similar. Yeah.
individually. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the food as well would be very similar. And like I
Oh.
think if you watch my recent videos, I always make fun of Singaporean food because it's very funny. Like on Facebook, the Singaporean and Malaysian memes, they'll like make fun of each other, like, you know, whose food is better. But it's actually kind of like the same food anyway.
Oh, right, right. That's kind of like
Yeah.
when one of my like friends said that people from Hong Kong and China were debating where tapioca no where boba came from.
All right, right,
Yeah, but it was actually from Taiwan.
right.
So people were debating, but then it was actually from Taiwan. So
Really
yeah.
interesting. Well, I guess, yeah, that would be the end of today's chat with Khian. Thank you so much, Eileen. Do you have any last words or anything to say to the audience?
Yeah, I'm so supportive of Kian all the time. So I'm always supportive of like what you do, and I really hope that like you guys will all be able to like support him and look forward to every video that he makes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I didn't pay her to say that. And like, yeah, be sure to check out FnK Concept on Shopee and Lazada for cool products at reasonable prices. Until next time, we are out. Bye bye.